What's going on, guys? This is Damien from The Lookout, and today I am showing you my BT15 Goku Revisited Kaio-Ken Miracle Strike deck. So, BT15 Goku, one of the arguably worst leaders of all time. And though that's the consensus online, I think this leader is actually good, which got a lot of support, but lately there has been something which has enabled you to run this Miracle Strike build, and it's very cool, and I can't wait to show it to you guys. This is gonna be a combination of Deck Planet and our actual how to play guide, so we're constantly improving on this method. Let me know what you think in the comments below. But before we begin this video, huge shout out to the ever-growing coffee club: Miguel, Nave, Anthony, Ryan, Frank, Scotty, Jacob, Bixen, Bryce, Fernando, Derek, Adnan, Jakub, and Golden Feather Kiryu. These are our $2 and up patrons. They buy us coffee, they get the perk to vote, so for the newest guides. So tomorrow we will have the Green Gohan guide, which our patrons have voted on, and they keep this machine going. And with each patron we're one step closer to buying a new table. Guys, if you want to join the coffee club, link is in the description below. If it isn't your thing, you can also join the YouTube membership to unlock custom emojis which you can spam during our live streams. And that's basically it, Let's go into the video. Roll the video! What's going on, guys? So we are here with the BT15 Goku deck. Once again, we will be using slides for some explanations. So how and why exactly? Well, because there is an interaction here that I thought was pretty cool. Let's just go over the leader briefly, because if you haven't seen this one, literally no one can blame you. It's known as one of the worst leaders ever, though I think that's a bit of an over-exaggeration. Basically, on the front side, you play King Kai's Planet. You start with a field card, and then his auto is when he attacks, you draw one. And he has an Awaken 4 lives or less, or if your opponent is awakened. So basically you're always awakening turn 2, because nowadays every single deck is awakening turn 2. So when you awaken, you switch one energy to active mode, and he gets plus 5k for the turn. So this is an awakening condition which is unique to this leader, where he just kinda gets a buff instead of drawing or anything else. Then it's not good. It's not good, you would rather draw. His auto on the awakened side is when this card attacks, draw one. And then he has activate main, send 4 King Kai's training extra cards from under your field into your warp, basically. You get rid of them completely. He gets plus 45k for the turn. And then he gets minus 15 for the next turn. This is like one-time usage. You do this Kaio-Ken times 4, and then you can't do this anymore. He also has an activate battle once per turn. On any player's turn, place 1 King Kai's training from under the field into a drop, and then he gets plus 10k for the battle and minus 10k for the next turn. So this is the gimmick. Basically, you are using Kaio-Ken to boost yourself, and then you lose power afterwards, because Kaio-Ken takes a toll on the user's body. And then once per game, basically, you can really try to break your limits and go Kaio-Ken times 4 to get plus 45k power for the turn. That's important. Let's just examine the leader briefly in a slide. Looking at our leader very briefly, you just need to remember 2 key things. Keep these in mind as we proceed with the deck. First off, the first activate main, which gives you plus 45k power, lasts for the turn. It's extremely important to keep this in mind. It lasts for the entire turn. And then less important is that you can use your activate battle on either player's turn. So you can, if you need to, if you're in a pitch, you can boost yourself to 25k, but then you're just gonna be 5k the next turn. keep this in mind. Now let's proceed. Okay, now that you know how the leader works, let's examine the deck. So first off, we are starting with our field card. King Kai's Planet doesn't have barrier, doesn't matter. Activate main once per turn. Place up to one King Kai's Training from your deck, live or drop under this card, and then you shuffle all the areas that you have looked through. You can't place it from hand. Activate main once per turn. If there are 4 King Kai's Training under it, choose up to one Son Goku confronting the invasion and play it. Choose all green Son Goku cards in your leader and battle area and they get plus 5k for the turn. Draw a card, then choose one card in your hand and place it at the bottom of the deck. So, immediately, choose one Son Goku confronting the invasion and play it. You're not doing this. You're not running Son Goku confronting the invasion in this deck. Choose all green Son Goku cards. Yes, we are doing that. And then just draw one and bottom deck one. That's... yeah. Anyway, yeah. So, first off, we start with this one. Then, we are looking at King Kai's Training. This is probably the most useful and useless card in the deck. Because it says, activate main for 1 energy. Choose one King Kai's Planet in your battle area. Place this card under the chosen card. Add up to one Son Goku confronting the invasion from your deck to your hand, and then shuffle your deck. You are never doing this, because unless you're just looking to place it from hand under the field card, because we're not playing Son Goku confronting the invasion. So this card is useless. It's somewhat useless. But it's still useful because we need it for King Kai's Planet and we need it for a leader to buff himself. And finally, in this package, we are running North Kai Master's Guidance. 1 cost. Choose the field card, and then when this card is played, draw one, and then place up to one King Kai's Training from your deck or drop under the chosen card. Then shuffle your deck if you have looked through it. So basically, it's basically draw 2 in a way. If King Kai's Training is in your deck. It's very fast deck filling. Plus it's a consistency piece. So yeah, combining these 3, considering that we have King Kai's Planet in the field when we start, we have this one which just draws 1 and gets rid of 1 King Kai's Training from your deck. Plus you have like this useless one. This one is awful. It feels very bad if you have it in your hand. Just mulligan it away immediately. We are going through our deck very, very fast. Now, you might not believe me when I tell you that this is literally everything, from almost literally everything from the engine that we are running. There is also one more card, but we are running it for a bit different reasons. Anyway, let's check out the rest of the deck. First off, our other 1-drop. 4 copies of Son Gohan Momentary Awakening. Now you might have seen this one. There was a lot of hype when the BT21 Green Gohan came out. There's a lot of hype regarding this card. For 1 energy, when you play it, you look at top 7, you choose 1 green Son Goku of any cost. As long as it is green, it can even be multicolored. You just get 1 green Goku, add him to your hand, then shuffle your deck. A lot of cards in our deck are green Goku. So for 1 energy, we're just searching, filtering through the top 7, tutoring basically, to grab anything. So it's 99% of the time, it's 1 energy, draw 1. And draw 1 specific card that you want. That's amazing. Then we are moving to our critical package. We are running 3 copies of the monkey. The monkey is so good. The monkey is phenomenal. None of this text matters here except critical blocker and the first activate main limit 1. Pay 1 green if a field card is in your battle area, which it is because you start with it. play this card from your hand. It's 1 energy, 19k crit blocker, turn 1. Yeah, that's pretty good. So we usually want to start with this one. We don't want to start with King Kai's training. It's always better to have the monkey out first. Then we have 3 copies of Kaio-Ken Son Goku the Furious. It's a promo. It's a bit on the more expensive side at the moment. 15k crit. When you play it, your opponent discards 1. You can play it for 1 energy if you have 3 or more. And then he has activate battle for 1 energy. He gets plus 10k and then minus 10k. Basically, it is 1 energy critical, opponent discards 1. Okay, we can search it with the Gohan. Then we have 2 copies of a card which we can't search, but still we're using it. It is the Gohan rare. This one is also a bit on an expensive side if you don't have it. Deflect critical. When he's played, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, KO it, and this card can be KO'd by opponent skills. For the next turn, he's 25k. Auto for 1 green energy if your leader is green. When you charge him into the Z energy, you remove 3 markers from your opponent's Unison. And then finally, activate main limit 1 for 2 energy if your leader is green or Master's Teaching, doesn't matter, and your life is at 4 or less, you can play this card from your hand. What's the most important part here is that he has critical, and on the upside he also gets to KO something, which is amazing. But he has critical. And the final card in this small package is 2 copies of the newest Gohan Boss Monster. Deflect Double Strike, 35k, activate main, limit 1 for 2 energy. If your leader is green and your opponent is 3 or more energy, you play him from your hand, he gains barrier. And then the only auto which matters, because we're never using the other one, when this card attacks, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, KO it, and then your opponent discards 1. That's important. So, if you have noticed, a common trend among these battle cards is that first of them, like 2 of them are Gokus, which we can fetch with our Gohan. It's that all of them have critical and all of them discard. And speaking of which, I have missed 1. Cooler, Armed Force. Barrier, Double Strike, you play him for 2 energy, and then when he attacks, you either KO something or opponent discards. This one doesn't have critical, but you can restand him if you have a Z battle card in play, so he can basically discard 2. So that is what we're doing. We are emptying our opponent's hand. We are either hitting them for critical, so they don't draw lives, or we are just flat out discarding cards from their hand. That's the main goal here. The final battle card here is just the super combo 4 copies of Paragus, because you want to run 4 copies of Paragus. Now we're checking out our Unison, which is the last card in the engine, Krillin Staunch Defender. Okay, so here's the thing. There is a reason why we're running a Unison in this deck. For the longest time I was thinking maybe not run it until I've assembled the package, and then I saw like, okay, we need a Unison. Originally it was Dabura, but then a friend convinced me to go with Krillin. So what does Krillin do? Auto, once per turn, if your life is at 3 or less and it's your opponent's turn, when your leader's power is decreased, switch Krillin to active mode and it gains blocker for the turn. And then he has 2 abilities. +1, activate main. Choose 1 card in your hand, place it at the bottom of your deck, and for every 2 King Kai's training under the field card, you draw 1. So it's bottom deck 1, draw 2 most of the time for +1. You're going through your deck lightning fast. You're going through it super fast. And then -1, activate main. Your opponent chooses 1 card in their hand and discards it. Ideally, we're getting Krillin to 4 markers before we do our big swing, and this is the ability that we're using. Now, when you hear 4 markers, you're probably, maybe you have an idea of where I'm going with this. But let's just keep it a secret for now. Then, we have, of course, our Unison package. 4 copies of Dormant Potential, 4 copies of Charismatic Villain. I chose not to go with the newest Gohan Floodgate negate because, well, here's the thing. Because your opponent can just swing through it sometimes, like you're negging a lot in hand, and if your opponent is going for the kill, he is going to swing through it. It's better to use it in Gohan. Here we just want to flat out stop them until we are able to do what we're trying to do, which is why Dormant Potential is better. Worst case scenario, absolutely worst case scenario, you can use your leader, gain a boost, then like you're weaker next turn unfortunately, but still you say Dormant Potential, gain a boost. You switch Krillin to active, he gains blocker, you survive because you're 25k, and then on the under swing Krillin blocks, though we're not super crazy about Krillin losing markers. I will explain why shortly. Let's just round up the negate package. 2 copies of Homicidal Clones, 2 copies of Kamehameha Deflection. These are pretty standard. Now we are getting to the big thing, basically. We're slowly getting to the big thing. So, first off, we are creating a discarded deck, right? We have already established this. We want our opponent to discard cards, we don't want to fill their hand. So, what we are doing is we are running 4 copies of Feat Kamehameha in the deck. It says basically, if your leader is Green Son Goku, for the duration of the turn, it's an activate battle for 1 energy, he gains plus 15 in critical. That's what you're basically looking to do as much as possible with your leader. So, if possible, on every leader's swing, if you have Feat Kamehameha, you give him plus 15, he's 30k crit, draws 1, you're gonna deal that 1 damage. This is mostly so that you don't feel your opponent's hand. That's it. So, we are preventing our opponent from filling their hand this way, plus it's a nice buff for just 1 energy. Then, here's the big one. Here is the big controversial one. 2 copies of Instant Kamehameha. Now, this is the reason why we are running Krillin, and why we are even running Unison in the first place. That's why I thought Dabura maybe instead of Krillin. What this card does is counter. If your leader has Son Goku in his character name and is attacking, switch one of your leader cards to active mode. It gets plus 5k and he has his skills negated for the turn. He can't gain skills, he has skills negated basically. Permanent, you can activate this card's counter from your hand without paying its cost by spirit boosting 3 instead. That's where Krillin comes in. So Krillin basically ramps up markers. He already starts with 2. We're just using plus 1 until we get into 3, and then we can use instant Kamehameha. And the other thing is why I said you use the -1 when he is on 4 markers. Because if you got your opponent low enough and you're ready to go for the kill, -1, they discard 1. And then they have 1 card less. If you hit a negate, that's huge. If you hit a negated, that's just absolutely huge. So you get your opponent's lives to as low as possible. And then another thing to keep in mind, because I will have to create a slide for this one, because there's a lot of rambling here. Your leader gets plus 45k for the turn. That means that you say activate main. Okay, he gets plus 45, he's 50k. You swing at your opponent. Let's say your opponent has 1 more negate in their hand, they say negate. You say okay, instant Kamehameha, restand the leader, your leader keeps the 45k, because he gains them for the turn. And now he gets another +5, and then you just swing with him again. It's still gonna be a single damage, so you need to really calculate this properly when you're doing this. But another thing that can happen, and the main reason why I actually went to build this deck in the first place, is what happens when our opponent doesn't negate our big swing. The newest secret rare. Before we even talk about how do we actually win, we need to do the preparation phase. You need to have two things. First, you need to get free counters on your Unison so that you can use the counter. And then second, just in case, get a non-attacking, preferably non-attacking, token removal if your opponent is on more than 1 health. The last thing that you need to do is use as many discard effects as possible before committing to performing the Miracle Strike. So we're looking to get our opponent's hand to as low as possible, and then we have the Unison for counter if needed be, if we are taking that route, and we are also having our non-attacking token removal if our opponent happens to be on more than 1 life. Before I show you all the ways how you can win, let's talk about kill threshold. There are 3 total life thresholds at which you can kill your opponent by performing the Miracle Strike. At 4 lives, check route 3. At 3 lives, check route 1. And at 1 life, check route 2. I'm going to show you the routes immediately after this slide. Make sure to follow the preparation step before committing to Miracle Strike, because if you don't follow it, it's gonna backfire horribly. Now let's check out the routes. Route number 1, no counters and our opponent is on 3 lives. Just to win, lol. That's what you do. So, activate main, you get plus 45k, you attack. If opponent has no counters, you just use your SER. You pay 2, you get plus 10k, you get triple strike. Now you're 70k triple strike baseline leader before counting any other combo, and you're going for triple, and that's just game. Unless your opponent's name is like Anthony Hayne, he's not out comboing this swing. So you're just going 70k triple and then you just dump your entire hand and win. It's the easiest, simplest way about it, and it's also the least likely one to actually work consistently, because unless you have taken away all of your opponent's cards from hand, they will probably have a negate when they're on 3 lives. Route number 2, the 1 swing miracle. The opponent has 1 life and a negate. What do we do then? If this happens to be a case, here's what we do. Activate main, get plus 45k. We are 60k now. Attack, opponent says counter. For example, this one. The attack is negated. We are looking at non-token negates because opponent can't use token negate on 1 life unless they hardcast it. So, now it's time for your counter. You Spirit Boost 3, you slap him with a counter. Your leader gets plus 5k and restands. Your leader is now baseline 65k, and then you just attack for the win. Like your opponent tapped out, use their last counter, you restand, swing 65k. And finally, route number 3, the chain attack combo. Your opponent is on 4 lives and he has a negate. What do we do then? Alright, so here's how we do it. Our opponent is on 4. Activate main, get plus 45k, swing 60, no counters. In this scenario, no counters. Use the SER, gain triple strike, restand. Okay, so you are huge at the moment. You're massive at the moment. You're 70k triple striker. You restand, your opponent is on 4. And then you pay 1 for feed Kamehameha. You gain plus 15k in critical. So now you are 85k critical triple strike leader. They're not out comboing. You deal 3 damage, auto resolves, and now you're getting plus 20k power from the SER. So now your leader is baseline 80k. Now you swing again and your opponent's like, that was a mistake. Maybe I should counter him this time. They play a counter because it can't be token counter, and then you just counter Spirit Boost free to play. You get another plus 5k, so now your baseline 85k leader, and then you swing again. And in that case, you just won. Your opponent no longer has counters. This route is very susceptible to disruption, because if your opponent counters the first time, then you're screwed. So use this route only if your opponent's hand is basically gone. Only then use it. Some final things to keep in mind. Token negates. What if my opponent has a token negate? Well, if they negate with a token negate, you have ways of dealing with it. This is usually on 2 lives. If they use a token negate, or even if they're on 1, they hardcast it, you have 3 cards which can remove it. So you have Gohan, which is preferably Gohan, and the Goku Gohan super rares. They are the preferred way because they don't need to attack to remove it. Then you also have Cooler. Cooler needs to attack to remove it, but hey, at least it's removed. And then you swing. So yeah, you can deal with token negates with one of these 3 cards. One last question is, what if I don't own a Gohan Goku super rare? Which is completely understandable, because this one is quite expensive at the moment, depending on your region. You can go with Fated Rivals instead, with 2 of each Fated Rival. Let's say you replace Cooler with Piccolo, and then like you will be spending free energy to get the entire effect. Don't swing double strike with Goku. Don't let them take lives. Instead, you just play the 2 of them and then swing Piccolo into cards in rest mode or Unisons just to force them to discard without drawing. It's not an ideal replacement. It will cost you an extra energy, but it also isn't too bad. And then finally, the last card in the deck is SS4 Vegeta. Finally, let's just briefly check out the Z deck. So, Z deck, there's nothing in the side. The Z deck is just 3 copies of Frieza, because he works well with Cooler and he is an additional source of discarding. 2 copies of Jiren, the immovable. Not really gonna use this one. He's here to help out a bit, but like he can help you protect some pieces, and that's it. 1 copy of the Son Goku and 1 copy of Surmounting the Impossible, because sometimes you need Surmounting the Impossible. Plus, what he basically does is, because you place 1 card from your hand to the bottom of your deck, he basically helps you replace King Kai's Training if it's in your hand, basically, so that then you can use King Kai's Planet or North Kai to get it under your field. So yeah, that's it. This is the deck. That's it for the video. Let me know in the comments below. Will you give Miracle Strike BT15 Goku a go? What do you think of this revisit of an old, very underused archetype? Do you like this new approach? Or are you maybe a fan of sticking to the engine itself? Let me know in the comments. I read all of your comments. I try to respond to everything. I love our little community. And guys, while you're here, click the share button, hit those like and subscribe buttons, help us grow, help us reach 3,000 subs. We aren't that far away, and if we can reach it, we're gonna have an amazing giveaway. Anyway, this has been Damien from The Lookout, and I'll see all of you in the next video.